Sarah Ruffi, the woman warrior lawyer, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Jason Burgess. Jason, introduce yourself briefly and tell us where you're from.
Hi, my name's, as she just said, Jason Burgess. I own Geeks4Guitars. I'm from Mississippi. Born and raised, lived all over the country, but I'm back home in Mississippi now.
Well, since you've lived all over the country, it sounds like you've put on a lot of miles.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
and if you could walk in anyone's shoes, who would you choose?
Oh, I'd still walk in mine. I wouldn't change a thing. I love it. I don't know if I could fill anyone else's shoes, to be honest with you. I have a hard enough time filling my own.
You think anybody else could fill yours?
Oh, well, I mean, that's debatable, right? I'm sure we could all ask that question to ourselves. I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody out there, but my daughters, both of them, tell me, "Daddy, you've got how many jobs? 1,000 jobs?" Because I do everything. So I don't know. It'd be some pretty big shoes to fill if someone wants to jump into mine.
And how old are your daughters?
My oldest Mallory is 10. My youngest is 7.
And
That's Erica.
they must have eyes for their daddy.
Oh
Knowing
yeah,
that you do
yeah.
everything, right?
They're daddy's girls. Yeah, they know they got me wrapped. I'm. It's over. They got me.
So I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name of your guitar company.
Yeah, it's Geeks4Guitars, actually.
Geeks4Guitars. I like your logo.
Thank you. My wife actually drew that out. It's just a hand-drawn sketch. That's what I went with.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I
And
love just random stuff. So I build random guitars. Just I'm out there as far as my, I guess, first degree is fine arts. I guess that should explain a lot.
so you'd call yourself a geek.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I think we all are to some extent, right?
Well, it's all a matter of how you want to define yourself, right?
There you go. Yeah,
Because
I mean, I deep dive into research whenever I'm doing, especially, take guitars. I match tone woods with pickups with and whatever the client plays music style wise. I always build according to them and just kind of tailor build a guitar for them. So of course you have to do your research, and yeah, I'm kind of a geek when it comes to that.
so are your guitars all custom made for particular, are they made to order, or do you have guitars that you're making and then just put it out there that they're available?
Yes,
Both?
both. Yeah, built to order mostly. However, I build a lot of them on my own, just the way I want to do them to get certain sounds, certain tones out of them, and then I'll sell them to folks that I know. Or like right now, I've got 3 custom builds going for 3 different clients, and they specifically ordered different guitars. And same thing, we just went over, what tone they're trying to get out of it, what kind of music style they play mostly, and then I try and get tailored in for their style. So the guitar is just like a perfect fit for that person. So that's how I like to operate, and it's really nice being able to do that for folks when they get them and they plug them in, and they, my validations when I get that phone call or a FaceTime video or something, and as soon as I get the guitar and they crank it up for the first time, they're just wanting to message out to me and say, "Look, this is fantastic. You nailed it." And knock on wood, so far it's been the case every time. So it's really awesome.
That's amazing. How did you learn how to build guitars?
Well, that's a loaded question. Actually, I was challenged by my father-in-law. He asked me if I'd ever built a guitar. I was in just outside of Denver, Colorado, in Gunsmithing College of all things, and that's where I met my wife. Was in Lakewood, Colorado, and yeah, we got to know each other. And he was looking at some of the rifle stocks that I was building, and he's like, "Man, you do really nice woodwork." I was like, "Well, thanks, man. I've always done woodwork." And was like, "You ever built a guitar?" I was like, "No, but if you give me specs, I can do it." So that's kind of how that came to be. It was more of a challenge than anything. And we started off like he got me back into guitar for about 13 years. I didn't even own a guitar. And, through getting up with him, meeting my wife, meeting him, I slowly got back into it. And this all came a little after I graduated gunsmithing school, but, giving you a crash course in it. That's how it started. He asked me inevitably, "Hey, can you build a guitar?" And that's how it came. So I started modifying guitars first, like most tinkerers. And then after that, I was like, all right, well, I can't find anything I don't already own. I've got just a massive collection of collectibles. And at some point, you're like, well, I want to I don't know, a one-piece quilted maple body guitar. Well, nobody makes that. So I made my own, and it's gorgeous. It's this guy right here.
That is gorgeous.
That's one solid piece of quilted maple, which is just something you can't get. And if you did, let's say, you know, Fender Custom Shop, for example, if you ordered it from them, if they would even build you something like that, it'd be $10,000 or more. So I just built it myself. That's how it all
So,
started.
so your future father-in-law at that point, was
Yes.
he into music and guitars and wanted you to make one for him?
Oh
Or
my God.
he
Yeah,
just
he
decided you should do that because you're good at making guns and
yeah, I say it was a challenge. I think he was testing my ability. It was just to see if I could build one. And of course, challenge accepted, right? You have to be that way. At least that's how my mind works. So
well, why not?
yeah, it worked out, and no, I built my first one, and it was for me. However, yes, he is into music big time. He's one of the best lead guitarists I've ever heard. I mean, he's so nonchalant about it though. Like if he's in public, he doesn't want to play around anyone. But you get him off by himself, and you'll swear to God you're listening to whatever song he's playing on the radio. Like he's just really good at it. So yeah, he's kind of a closet lead player. However, he's got more guitars and more pedals than I do. That's saying something.
I was gonna say, is this kind of a battle of who's gonna have the biggest collection of guitars and pedals and guitar stuff?
No, see, I don't look at it as a battle. I look at it as a partnership because whatever I don't have, he has, and whatever he has, it kind of works well. We can trade off. And
Except he's in Colorado or they're,
no, he's actually here in Mississippi now. My wife is his only child, and my two kids are obviously his only two grandchildren. So
oh, so he moved to the grandkids and the daughter.
he did, yeah. The heck with me. He came down here for the wife and kids.
Well, you're just along for the ride and to give
That's
him
it.
guitar
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So how did you get into woodworking?
Just doing construction, honestly. When I was a kid, I was 16, almost 17. I got emancipated, and my wife or my mom, sorry, got remarried and moved up to North Mississippi, up in the Delta, and there's nothing up there. I mean, they had a stop sign. That was it. So I dropped out of school in ninth grade and got emancipated. Um, yeah, as far as childhood goes, I wasn't the best student unless I was interested in whatever it was I was going over. I didn't do it to the best of my ability. And
Well, I got
whenever I was,
four of them like that.
I'm sorry.
I got four of them like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's how my mind works. I'm very kind of, I deep dive into whatever I'm interested in, and I always have been that way. Did great with math, did excellent with science, things like that. But if it was something that I just did not want to do, I struggled in school with it. And I was talking to Tony earlier, and he was asking me about my influences in life. And one of them is my seventh grade teacher, Mr. Adams, David Adams. I still talk to him. I just texted him last week to check up on him. He's kind of the one that gave me that kick in the butt to want to do better. And that year I made AB honor roll. Next year I made AB honor roll, and then of course things happened. Mom got remarried, moved off, so I've been out on my own ever since. And I think everything kind of happens for a reason. I don't think I'd be me if that didn't happen. So you asked me about walking in someone else's shoes. I'd rather just be in mine, honestly.
Well, all of our circumstances and everything that happens to us forms who we are, and we
Of
have the
course.
opportunity to decide what meaning we're going to give to it and if we're going to let it build us up or try to control us.
Oh, absolutely.
What we're going to do.
Well,
So
if you're smart, you learn from it.
there are no failures, they're just learning opportunities, right?
That's exactly right.
So Mr. Adams, right? Your seventh grade
Yes.
teacher was Mr. Adams. Once your mom moved up to the Delta, was he a mentor for you, like through the rest of your teen years and even going
I mean,
past that?
off and on, it was more of I don't even think he realized the impact that he had on me at that time in life anyway. I would touch base with him from time to time just to let him know how I was doing. He's just that type of guy that I could call him up right now, and doesn't matter what he's doing, he'd take 5-10 minutes and just talk with me. And no, it was more just knowing that how he was. He's this big old burly Marine, ex-Marine, and once a Marine, always a Marine. So I say Marine. Just a sweetheart of a guy though. And anything you'd ever need, he'd be there for you. And I don't know, it's just the influence that I needed in my life at that time. So it kind of, I don't necessarily know that he realizes to what extent he actually played that part in my life when I was that young. I had an apartment at 16 years old, had to get all the electricity in my name, which is why I had to get emancipated so I could put all my bills in my name and get power turned on and stuff like that. So, I mean, you either grow up quick at that point or you slack off. I've still got acquaintances. I won't call them friends anymore, but acquaintances that are still sleeping on their mother's couch and they're, 38, 39 years old, never really did anything. So it's either you fall into that category or you say, okay, well, these are the cards that I'm dealt, and you progress in life. And at the time I was doing apartment maintenance, making I don't know, $10 an hour probably, if I remember right. And my older brother was in the apartment with me. We both split rent and everything. And yeah, it was I learned a lot of my construction background from doing that. So just burn units, big apartment complexes that burned down but not completely, would go in and refab them.
Oh,
And
that's a terrible job.
oh, it was horrible, but I mean, it paid the bills. So that's kind of like you were talking about. That's the building blocks for life, right? You start somewhere and then move up.
Well, and you learn some great skills doing that, because I've gotten that pleasure of cleaning up after fires and trying to figure out what's salvageable and not.
Oh yeah.
Because my parents had fires, 2 different fires in the same apartment building, like 20 years apart. But so we got to go through, and you learn a lot about insurance, but you also learn a lot about cleaning up and just the dirt, but also how to look at what was beyond repair.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you get to watch it as it comes back to life, if you will.
Yeah, it was a messy job. We'll put it that way. Fire department doesn't care what they spray. So when you come in after that, it's just essentially you're going back down to studs, which in most cases half the studs are gone anyway if it's a burn unit. So yeah, you just rebuild and go back. But yeah, I did that for years, and then I was telling Tony also I got into teaching Taekwondo for years. I studied martial arts for a long time, so kind of did that while doing construction, because I don't know if you're familiar with martial arts, but they're not very long classes. So my full-time job doing that only took up about 8 hours a week. So it left me plenty of time to do side work doing construction projects. So it was
what degree black belt are you? I'm assuming you're a black belt if you taught for years.
I did. I got up to first degree and just stopped. I did not want to progress. I got up to where I could just get people to their black belt, and that was it. My heart wasn't in it as far as that goes. I was helping out my instructor more than anything, just assistant teaching basically. And again, I did that off and on, so full time if you want to consider that. But it was my way to just stay in it and stay in shape, and more than anything, help him out along the way. It was fun. It was a good learning experience. It was, teaches you a lot of good life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Teaches you how to keep calm, obviously, and how to protect yourself. But I had no intent on sticking it out and making a career out of it like he did. That was not where my passion lied. So yeah, it was just a fun little stint in my life to go through, I guess. Again, building blocks, right? All these little things build up and make you who you are.
Exactly.
So no, I still keep in touch with him though. He's a great guy. He's still teaching Taekwondo to this day.
I think that's one of those things, because one of my guests he's also a Taekwondo instructor, has his own gym, and he's a 6th degree Dan.
Oh yeah, he's up there.
He's up there. I mean, his kids started doing Taekwondo, I think, before they could even walk. So both of his kids are black belts. His wife's a black belt.
Like, where's he based out of?
Wausau, so central Wisconsin.
Okay.
So I like how you said you got your black belt and you taught more to help out your instructor. So I look at you as almost, would you describe yourself as a servant leader? That I'm here to serve and how can I help?
I mean, to some degree, yeah, I always try and help out anytime I can. I mean, that's just my personality personally. I mean, I assume most people try and help when they can. And for me, it was mutually beneficial, though. It was, I'm getting the joy of helping these guys, come up in the ranks. And I actually took pride in what I did. And I got to learn from a really good instructor that, to his credit, kept trying to push me to go up and up and up. And I was like, no, I'm okay right here.
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah. And I had to explain to him several times, it's hard when you're in that mindset, like your 6th degree friend. I mean, that's their
Oh, you froze up on me.
life. For me, it was just yeah. And for me, it was more of I loved it. Don't get me wrong, still love it. But I knew it wasn't going to be a career path for me. So I was happy where I was. Didn't want to go any further with it. Just really enjoyed helping him out. And yeah, it was really fun to do. But yeah, I guess I would be considered that. I mean, I guess you would like to help folks anytime you could, right? Most folks do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'd be okay saying that.
Okay. Now, how did you end up? You were working construction in Mississippi,
Mhm.
teaching Taekwondo. How do you end up in Colorado in gunsmithing school?
Well, my younger brother and I went and took the ASVAB together. We were both going to go into the military. Um, I passed with a great score and could have done anything I needed to, but I had just had neck surgery, so the MEPS docs were like, "Nope, 2 years before we'll take you. See if you got permanent nerve damage." And to their credit, I couldn't feel the left side of my face for about a year and a half.
Oh,
So yeah, they severed a few nerves that finally, or did something to them, but I could finally feel it after about a year and a half, almost 2 years. But I mean, this still worked, and that's what I was telling them. I was like, still good.
still got the
But
trigger finger.
yeah, they didn't care, and I wanted to learn how to work on weapons. That was what I wanted to do, just for myself. And as growing up in the country, you go out and you shoot 22s your whole life, and what I was just old country boy. So um, ended up, my younger brother went in, served 2 tours, stayed in for 6 years, and then ETS'd out of the U.S. Army. And I ended up paying for my own college to go to gunsmithing school, which is what I wanted to be, an armorer in the military, and then have them pay for my education when I got out. And I just skipped the military step because I didn't have a choice at that point. So I ended up going to Lakewood, Colorado School of Trades. And it's a 2 year degree, neck down to 14 months, and it's 32 hours a week. So it's like full
That's a
time work.
full-time job.
Yeah. And it was funny. You have a waiting list to get into that college. You have to write a little essay as to why you want to go, and they have to accept you. Of course, they run your background and all that because it is a gunsmithing school. You're working on firearms. So after all that was done, it was like a 6 month wait. So I'm like, all right, I can do some awesome side jobs, save up a lot of money, and go up there and just focus on school for about 6 months or so before I have to worry about getting a job because I'll pay all my bills up front. Well, about 3 weeks after I got accepted, they were like, hey, we just had a cancellation. So in another week,
And
do
you're
you want to take
eager.
this spot? So literally in 1 month's time, I went from, okay, I have 6 months to no, 3 weeks. I waited, and then a week later there was a spot. So basically in a month, I came up with enough money to pay all my bills 3 months in advance. And I moved up there not knowing anything. Like, I set my apartment up over the phone, never had been to Colorado before. And I'm thinking, I'm from the South, 13 miles from the school is nothing. Oh boy. Yeah. So I lived in Denver, went to school in Lakewood. If you know anything about that area, you cut down
On that
125.
13 miles goes a long way.
I went right by Bronco Stadium, right down the heart of Denver to get to school. So yeah, it was I learned real quick that's a long 13 miles, but I ended up living up there off and on for about 6 years. Um, it was great. I met my wife up there, which we were talking about earlier, and um, yeah, it was good times, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was awesome.
So after getting your gunsmithing degree, did you actually
Pursue gunsmithing?
yeah.
I did not. No, that's something I wanted to do just for myself. Again, I had thoughts of getting into it full time, and then I quickly realized, like most gunsmiths, that it's really hard to stay in business. I mean, you've got, at least down here in the South, there's a lot of competition. There's some awesome gunsmiths down here that are well established. And to their credit, I could have gone and probably worked with them in their shops. But the way my mind works, it's like, well, I don't own the shop. I'm not going to do it. I'd rather own my business and work for myself.
You sound a little stubborn.
Oh, I'm very stubborn. Yes. Yeah. I have no problem admitting that at all. I mean, most folks are. Yeah, I call it driven more than stubborn, though. I mean, if you could go and work for a law firm, you're a lawyer, or you could own your own law firm. Which would you rather do? You know?
Oh, wait. Worked for one, almost got divorced, and decided I wasn't going to another one that I didn't own.
Perfect example right
Yep.
there. You'd rather be the man than work for the man.
It kind of works that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to do it. And I use the man, generally speaking, woman, whatever.
I
It's all
don't
the
take
same.
offense. I don't take
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah,
All I
mean,
know
but
is I don't play well in other people's sandboxes, so
that's
I might as
exactly
well
right.
have my own.
And honestly, you've got a lot of, in gunsmithing especially, you've got a lot of type A personalities. I'm very much not a type A personality. I mean, I'm not that way. Like it's their way or the highway type of people, and I don't do well with that because I'm way more of a go with the flow type of guy. So
Yeah,
if
but
you're in
wouldn't
their
that be
shop,
your way too?
I'm sorry.
Wouldn't that be your way then?
No, I mean, honestly, if somebody's got a better idea than me, I'll embrace it. Whereas most of the people that I've worked around in gunsmithing, they're like, it's my way or the highway.
Oh, okay.
And
So it's my way. I'm the only way. I am the man, and you're
that's
gonna do
exactly
it.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and to their credit, again, if that's how they want to run their shop, go for it. That's fantastic. It's your shop. You can do that. So, but yeah, I don't play well that way. So I just stayed out of it, and I just do stuff for myself and immediate family, just tinker and make basically these days. But that's inevitably how I got into building guitars, like we were talking about earlier. So yeah, that was it's really weird how things work in life and what gets you to the spot that you're in now. And yeah, it's crazy how it all worked out, to be honest. Looking back on it, it's really crazy.
Well, it's those forks in the road, like Robert
Oh
Frost
God, yeah.
talked about, right? Are you
That's
going to go
it.
straight, or are you going to take this little curve?
That's it. There was oh God, I wrote a quote for a football game of all things years ago, and it's, what is it? While searching for the path to success, there's a crossroad we all come to. What makes us who we are and who we want to be are the sacrifices we're willing to make to walk the right path. And
That's
that stuck with
awesome.
me. Thank you. That's stuck with me over the years. And actually, it was my cousin. He was going to play a football game, and they were down in their luck. They hadn't won any games, I don't think, that year at all. And he wanted something to kind of be a little motivational something for his guys. So I typed that up real quick off my head. He posted in the locker room, and they won that game. He was like, "Man, this is awesome." I was like, "I don't know if it had anything to do with that, but that's just how my mind works." And so yeah, I remember that quote really well because it was for a purpose, right? It was to help people. And but I've lived my life that way all throughout, so it's just life for me. I mean, it's a quote, yes, but if you live your life that way and you realize, like you said, there's always forks in the road, and you never know where you're going to go, and you can't be afraid to take a certain one or go off the beaten path. And I don't think I've been on a beaten path in years because I'm way right
You're
now.
busy making your own, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, right, to progress in life, where you go with the flow and you just do what everybody else does. And I'm more of a chance taker, I guess, a risk taker. So yeah, and you kind of win some and you lose some doing that, though. Gotta be real careful.
So what's one of the biggest risks that you've taken that's paid off?
Well, when I got into the oil industry, I was in retail management for a while. That's a whole nother story. um, I'll tell that real quick. I'll make a long story really long, I guess. The way I met
Oh,
my
good.
wife, I was in a gunsmithing college in Lakewood, and told you I paid my bills 3 months in advance. Well, the first month I was in school, I focused solely on school. After that, I realized real quick, which I already knew I'd have to do, I'd have to get a job. And so about 3 blocks away from the gunsmithing college, there was a Home Depot. And I went up there on my lunch break from school one day, met the store manager, shook his hand, whole 9 yards. Are you hiring? They said no, but fill out an online application. Sure. Went back the next day, Filled out my online application that night, shook his hand again. Are you hiring? That went on for about 2.5 weeks until they realized I was not going to stop coming in every day. So they hired me in January, mid-January in Denver, Colorado for outside garden, which was just snow. So they to be driven that hard, I guess they knew I just wasn't going to stop. And I explained, from day one, hey, I've got 2 months before I have to pay bills again. I've got a little studio apartment that's like 500 square feet. I just need enough to get by. And yeah, they hired me on, and I ended up moving up the ranks after I graduated with them and stayed in retail management for a while. And then just wanted to try something different. And I guess the money for the oil industry really spoke to me. I wanted a better life for my wife and kids, and our kid at the time. And yeah, I went out there chasing that. Started as a roustabout, went to Roughneck, and then started my own logistics company. And from there, I did that for about the last 9 years until this last August. Running logistics on an oil field platform is pretty intense. I mean, it's like playing chess all day, every day. I'm the only me out there, so I order all the helicopter flights, line out the helicopters wherever they need to go, people back and forth, manifest for boats. I get all the groceries out there. I do all the typing up the reports that go straight to Houston every day for the 24-hour period of what we got done on location, and 24-hour forecast of what they need to see that we're going to be doing the next day so they can plan. Yeah, it's a lot of thinking way ahead. I mean, think about it. If you've got a 10-hour boat ride one way from the dock, and you've got to truck everything to the dock, and you get groceries that are only good if you pack them in dry ice for 48 hours, you got to really think about when everything's going to land. You got to look at the weather forecast, see what the sea conditions are going to be. There's a lot that goes into it, and I enjoyed it. Like, I love stuff like that. It just makes my brain work.
Sounds like a huge puzzle with a lot of moving parts.
Oh, it's fantastic though. I mean, once you get into it, it's like, I mean, you're really it's just a bunch of thinking. So to get paid what I was getting paid, just have to think. I didn't have to lift anything heavy anymore except me. Yeah, it was great.
So you were out on a rig in the Gulf then, I'm assuming.
Multiple rigs, multiple platforms, lift boats, wherever they needed me.
And so did you actually stayed out on the rigs then?
I did, yeah.
And would you be on like 7 days on, 7 days off, or did you basically live there?
Well, yeah, I was contract. I didn't work for a company. Again, I like to own my own. So
you worked for yourself, which means you were there.
When they called me and said they needed somebody, I would go. My longest stint was 68 days straight without coming to the beach at all. So not too bad. Not great either. But yeah, I mean, I tried to stay on a rotation if I could. If I could get someone else that did what I did, we would alternate. If it was a big project that was going to go on for months, then we would try and do a 2-week on, 2-week off, or a 3-week on, 3-week off, whatever worked best for each of us that were doing what we do. Again, we were the only us on location, so I couldn't leave until I had relief if it was a big project. Otherwise, they wouldn't get anything done. Nobody's there to ship the hazardous waste or whatever. You have to do special paperwork for that. And yeah, you can't leave. You're stuck. I mean, barring anything that's just major medical at the house, you can't go anywhere. And even then, you still got to do it from the house pretty much if they need you.
Well, I know my brother-in-law is kind of like you. He's the middleman, but he doesn't do it out in the water. He does it on land.
Oh, yeah.
And it's his job to make sure that the rigs are continuously running. And when it's time to move to a new location, he has a very tight window in which to knock it down, load it up, move it, and put it back up and get it operational.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to a new lease. They want to get production as quick as they can.
Yep. I think it's like 48 hours he has to have that rig not in operation. Something just crazy.
Yeah, I've never worked land. They were way more lackadaisical on land with drug tests. And I figured if I'm out there with people that have my life in their hands, I want to be in the most strenuous place possible. So I always just worked offshore. And I felt like it was a little safer environment, even though you're out. I mean, it's essentially Alcatraz if you think about it. You're just stuck. I mean, you get bad weather out there, you're stuck. You can't go anywhere. If it's
Yeah.
bad enough, you can't fly. I mean, even Coast Guard can't get to you in some cases. So you're just there and hoping for the best. But yeah, we always were really safe. Never had any real big issues to worry about on any of the platforms or rigs that I was on. We had a couple little minor hiccups, but out there, a minor hiccup turns into a major one real quick if you don't get on it. But
Yeah, it can be pretty scary in short order, I would think.
oh yeah, it was pretty. It was again just building blocks with life, though. I mean, I got to see a lot of things people just don't ever get to see and don't realize how awesome it is. That industry. I mean, wherever you fall on that in your own mind, just how awesome it is. The stuff that we can do. It's amazing to see it. I would not have realized unless I was in it how in depth it goes into that whole industry. It's awesome to watch. Like I watched a spool of flow line that was I think it was 10-inch diameter. It was a 28-mile spool on the back of a ginormous boat. I mean, imagine a solid spool of 10-inch pipe that goes for 28 miles.
That's huge.
Massive. I've got some pictures of it. It's the largest spool I've ever seen in my life.
My
And
question would be, how do they manufacture that and get it onto that boat?
I
It
didn't
had
get
to
to
have
see
been
that part.
manufactured right by the dock or
Oh
something,
yeah, they have a facility right
an
there at
extruder there.
yeah. So wherever it was done, I'm not sure where it was actually built, but yeah, it was that flow line was massive. And to be able to watch that kind of stuff and then watch the divers come and get underwater and weld everything up to the platform and make it all connect. I mean, it's incredible to see what we can do. So I mean, I really enjoyed that side of being out there, getting to see stuff that most folks have zero idea about and will never know. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I thought so.
So I like your story about your persistence and going to the Home Depot. Have you ever listened to Les Brown?
I have not.
Because he has a very similar story, but whoever he was working with was not nearly as, I'm trying to think of the word.
Tenacious.
Well, he wanted to get into a radio station, and he showed up there every day asking if they were hiring. And the director or whatever of the radio station was like, no. And then the next day, Les showed up again, and Les was greeted with, weren't you here yesterday? I was, but I didn't know, maybe somebody got sick or somebody quit. Nope, we're not hiring. And the next day, I think it only took like 4 or 5 days. And the response was, go get me a cup of coffee.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Mr. whatever his name was. So persistence certainly pays off, doesn't it?
It does. Well, I mean, in my case, especially, it was out of desperation. I mean, I'm in a town 1,250 miles from my hometown, don't know anybody, and smart enough to pay my bills up front, but knowing I have more coming. I mean, yeah, it was sheer desperation, and they could see it in my eyes. I'm sure I wasn't going to stop until they let me sweep the floor or something and give me some money because I had to. You know, it's all there was to it.
Well,
So,
plus your construction experience would have helped
and that
qualify
did
you for the job
that
to
did
be
play a
able to help
factor.
people.
Yeah, even before I graduated college up there, they wanted me to be a department supervisor. It didn't take them long to realize that I was hungry and more than just needing a job type of way, you know. Um, just wanted to succeed in life, period, and they knew that about me. So, yeah, you're right. The construction background definitely helped. And as soon as I graduated and had open availability with hours, I went straight to department supervisor and then just kept climbing the ranks from there. So, yeah, it was a good little time in life, I guess. Retail management's not for me. I enjoyed it. I love people, so it wasn't that. It was just that whole corporate mindset, and I never freaked out when corporate came from Atlanta. However, everybody else in the building was just like going nuts. And when they'd show up, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? They're just people, you know? It's
They
like if you do what you're supposed to do in this store, this is what I always told my people in my departments. You know, if you keep it what they consider grand opening ready every day, when you close down, just sweep up, make sure everything's stacked nice, whatever the case may be, front face all your stuff. You're good. You could open up the next morning, they could spot show up, and at least your department's good. You don't have to worry about it. And I guess people just freaked out when they heard the word corporate. Oh, corporate's coming. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, they put their pants on the same way I do, hopefully.
Well, you sound like me because I know when I was first practicing law, um, one of our clients was a very successful businessman, and he would come in wearing his blue jeans, his flannel shirt, and his work boots.
That's what I'm talking about.
But when we knew he was coming in, everybody in the office would get all jittery and Mr. So-and-so was coming in. And I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
Oh, but he's coming. I'm like, and
Are you doing something you need to worry about?
the issue
I mean,
with that is,
yeah, exactly.
so he'd walk in and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And I'd go about my business.
There you go.
But it just kind of goes to show you, though, how different people react to what they perceive as somebody who's above them or,
Oh, yeah.
you know, more important or more prestigious.
See, that's where the stubbornness comes in.
Well, maybe we both have that same stubborn
Yep.
streak.
Because in my mind, I'm like, well, nobody's really above me. I think we're all just kind of equal in this whole thing we call life. And yeah, he's
We
in a
all
different
come
position.
in the same way. We all go out.
Exactly.
Nobody's exempt from that.
That's it. I mean, they all started the same way, right? So, I mean, as long as you're a people person, I feel like you can talk to anybody. It doesn't matter if it's a CEO of a company. And I've talked to many CEOs of big companies, trust me. If you do right by people and you're just a nice person overall and you try and just understand everybody's just normal, I mean, they're just people. There's no, you don't put them on this big pedestal and you're okay. If you do that, mentally you're checked out already. I mean, you're putting yourself down here and them up there. Everybody's right here with me. Doesn't matter who you are.
So do you came up with that quote, which I look at that as a really powerful affirmation. What do you tell yourself every day? Do you have something that you've come up with in your own little, this is how I'm going to start my day?
It's crazy actually. Now having my daughters and being home with them now and my wife, it's every day I honestly wake up. I don't necessarily tell myself this or that. It's just it makes you have more drive, at least right now, especially. I'm in a really weird spot. You know, I went from 200 plus thousand a year job to oil field is just tanking right now, especially with what I do. To taking this ginormous leap of faith into building guitars full time. I mean, I was already doing it. It's just when you're gone 2/3 of the year, you don't have a lot of time. And when you're home, obviously, first and foremost, I took time to spend with the wife and kids, and then I wouldn't start building a guitar until they were in bed. So I'd be up all night, you know, all hours of the night building guitars. And then it's like, well, might be home a week and a half and got to go right back out for God knows how long. So it just took so long. Well, now it's like I'm deep diving into this. I'm able to get in my shop and bust out some killer guitars. And every day I pretty much just wake up hoping that I keep that same drive that I've always had to pursue this new career path and hoping like crazy that it just takes off like I see it in my mind. And I feel like it will. I'm getting some custom orders in now, which I don't build cheap guitars. I build very nice, expensive guitars. And I feel like I need to do that to set myself apart. It's stuff that I just dreamed about coming up, you know, playing. It's like, wow, you know, certain woods that you couldn't get or certain just overall designs that I wanted and couldn't find on the shelf. So that's the kind of stuff that I build for folks. And it's actually worked out really well so far. I feel like it's going to climb by leaps and bounds pretty soon. I've been contacted by several people that are interested, we'll say, in my company. And I can't go into too much detail right now, but it looks like it's going to be a really nice little collaboration, partnership, whatever you want to call it, very soon. So, if all goes well, I think it was a leap worth taking. Again, we're at that crossroad, and I took that path, and we'll see where we land, right?
Absolutely. So I'm looking at the guitars in the back hanging on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all ones that you made.
Yes.
That's like part of your private collection, right?
Yeah, those are prototypes, different models. The one furthest over here is one I just modified. It's just one of my favorite players. I have it hanging up, but all these here are custom builds, yes.
And when you built them using your woodworking and your gunsmithing, did you start with just a chunk of wood for the body and you designed it and cut it out and everything?
I did, like I was showing you earlier. This is my Teardrop series. In fact, I named him Bruce. Bruce was my very first Teardrop model. This is my prototype, my very first one I ever built. That's one solid piece of black walnut. Now, in this model, the very first one I ever built.
Okay.
In my Teardrop model. I've built many, many before this, but this is my latest. Thank you. Again, I call it the Teardrop model because everything just kind of tucks around inside. And if you look at it, you can strum it like an acoustic. Nothing sticks out. Everything is below deck inside my Teardrop. So I designed that to just be a really awesome way to strum without hitting anything, yet everything is right where you need it to be. It's a very familiar placement of the knob, pickup, selector, switch, and all that, but it's just in a different location, yet the same location, if that makes any sense. It's not sticking straight up out of the guitar, yet it's pretty much in the same spot everybody's used to.
So did you come up with the teardrop design, or I don't know nearly as much about guitars as Tony?
I did. I designed it so that, it just flows so well with this body shape anyway, but it actually works perfectly for the layout where I needed the electronics controls to be. So it actually just kind of came to be by happenstance. I wanted a cool shape. Teardrop popped in my mind. I laid it out a couple of different ways. In fact, my buddy Seth Maynor, really good friend of mine, was there when I was laying it out that night. I had the teardrop this way, I had it that way. When I was doing my prototype, I had it drawn on paper, but to take it from paper and do a prototype build, you have to kind of lay the stencil out and try different ways. And we put it on like this, and I was like, man, that's it right there. He held the stencil down, I drew it out with a pencil, boom, that's how we came up with it. So
it has
actually
nice
worked out.
And it flows.
It does, actually. I really love how it does. And I've since progressed, and again, this was the prototype, and I got it pretty right on the first one. This is an amazing guitar. And I'll show you the one that Tony with Warp Core obviously made me some really awesome pickups. And this is my latest one here. Now, I built this as a demo guitar to send to all kinds of people over the country and let them try it out. Now, this is a thin line version. I'm not sure if you know what that means, but this whole side is hollow. And that's the F hole. So like on an acoustic guitar, you have the hole where the sound comes out.
Yep.
This is the sound port right there, the F hole. And it's a thin line teardrop.
So now I'm going to ask a geeky question.
Sure.
And it's one that has always amazed me.
What's that?
That started out as one solid piece of wood, right, for the body of the guitar?
The body is one piece. That's black walnut. The cap is one piece canary wood. And it's split right there.
That's how you got it hollowed out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, you hollow the underside of the cap and the top side of the body, and you glue it and clamp it, and then you cut it out. And do a lot of shape, and all these are shaped by hand. So all this contour here, the contour here, contour here, all that is shaped by hand. So it's kind of I don't know, you get kind of attached to every build. Kind of sad to see them go, but
and do you give them all names?
Sometimes.
Or is it just the ones that you keep get named?
Mine, I definitely name. I usually leave the ones that are getting sent out for whatever client. I leave that name blank so they can name it themselves. Oh, us guitar collectors and players are kind of, oh, we're all geeks, right? To some degree or another. So
Um, I wouldn't necessarily call you geeks. I'd call you aficionados.
yeah, well, I use
Artists.
that term very jokingly, which is
I know.
why I named my company Geeks4Guitars. It's like, to me, I just embrace all things guitar related. And yeah, I just thought it was a really quirky, cool name. It fit my personality. And I don't know. I think people like it. I think it's a cool name. I'm not going to change it. I've been asked um, if I was going to change the name of my company, or if I go mainstream with it. It's like, no, I'm not going to change it. I'm good. I like it.
So for your guitar line, do you have a name for them as well?
That is my Teardrop series. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's
They
the
don't all look
flagship.
like teardrops though.
They do not. No, they're. I have some older models here that I was doing long before. Um, Now these would all be just custom order, but this is a full semi-hollow Mediterranean olive wood, which I had never seen an olive wood guitar. So back to kind of the why not type mentality.
Where do
I'd
you
never
find
seen
that
one.
kind of wood?
I'm
I've
sorry.
never heard of it. Where do you find your wood?
There's actually a rare wood provider here locally in Jackson, Mississippi, that they had some of this. And man, it was expensive. This one piece that was big enough to do this was like $750.
Woo.
I mean, it was still live edge. I mean, it still had bark on it and all. And but I loved the pattern, the grain on it. And I was like, well, I've never seen an olive wood guitar. Why not build one? So that's what I did. I bought the blank, and I didn't realize how bad olive wood splits. It's one of those woods that unless you've done it, mess with it, you don't realize. But as it dries out even further, it was already kiln dried. So it was put in a kiln, dried. The moisture content was below 8%. But as it dries even more when you're working it, it likes to crack on you. So I chased that thing the whole time it was being built. It was just trying to crack and run. And I learned a lesson. That's my personal guitar, and you'll never see where the cracks are in it. I hit them really well, and they are sealed. Trust me, they've been super glued like crazy. They're
But you're
not
not
going
inclined to
anywhere.
make another one out of that same kind of wood, are you?
I would, again, I'm stubborn. I would do it in a heartbeat. I know what I'd be getting into, and yes, I would still do it again.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I mean, I've got stuff like this here. These are caps. That'll be one piece caps. That's about half-inch, one solid piece ambrosia maple. So just some really beautiful
That's going to
maple.
be a pretty guitar.
Yeah, that's how all these start. This was one of my other Teardrop series here. That's one solid piece flamed ambrosia maple.
And
So
where is that native to Mississippi, or you get that
oh
from
no,
your
no,
species guy?
I have woods providers that I source wood from all over the country. And it just depends on whatever I see that they have in stock. I'll order it. If it's something local, I'll get it. But yeah, I'm big on checking out what my providers have in stock, and I just order. You never know when you're going to want to build something or what you're going to want to build, at least if you're my mindset. So I would just stock up on a bunch of lumber all at once, just real pretty lumber, stuff that I knew eventually I would use. And I've amassed this pretty ginormous stockpile of raw materials to work with. So I haven't had to buy lumber in quite a while for these builds, because I just over the years acquired so much. And it's really nice having that in your back pocket. Now I'm at the point where it's like, oh, I've built so many of these. I need to start ramping up and getting some more real pretty woods. And I'm starting to reach out to my providers again. And it's actually it's good. It's great for me, not great for them, that COVID has kind of put a damper on everybody's business. And they're selling a lot of this fancy lumber for a lot more affordable prices right now just to keep business going. So at some point soon, I'm going to place a big order for a lot more lumber and just stock up again. But I mean, you'll drop $7,000 or $8,000 like it's nothing on lumber.
But that would be the time to buy it, right?
That's
Buy low,
exactly right.
sell
Yeah, that's
high.
why I say it's great for me, not so great for the provider.
So kind of going off of your geek mentality, do you look when you're coming up with what guitar do I want to build next?
Mhm.
Do you kind of have wood that speaks to you saying this would be a good one for this guitar at this point in time?
That's a very good question. In fact, you're the only person that's ever asked me that. Yes, that is exactly how it works. I look at what I have in stock, or if it's something that I have in my mind, a certain image, certain grain pattern that I'm looking for. It's exactly how I do it. I'll go again. You also have to think of the tonal characteristics of the wood. So you want it to sound a certain way, and every type of wood reacts to the other type of wood that's adjoining it in different ways. Perfect example, like mahogany is a very warm wood tonally. So if you put mahogany and maple together, you essentially have a Les Paul standard. So it's mahogany body, little maple cap, and maple neck, or not maple neck, rosewood fretboard, and then like a walnut neck or a mahogany neck is typically a Les Paul standard. So that's the tone that you're going to get roughly out of those woods, depending on the pickup. So that's how I kind of started building. And then it just progressed. It's like, okay, well, now I know how mahogany and maple work together. Let's try sapelli and whatever. And then, of course, you end up like this one that's black walnut and canary wood, just off the wall stuff. And as you kind of learn different woods, you get to just use some really cool stuff. And that's exactly what I do. I take a look at what I've got in stock and I'm like, this would look fantastic with this finish, and it would sound like X. And that's how we do it. When I reached out, actually, Tony reached out to me. I take that back. Um, they custom wound some pickups for me that are in this guitar. The first time I'd ever used Warp Core pickups, and I'm a huge DiMarzio fan, right? That's what I've always used. Well,
Or at
these are
least you were.
yeah, exactly. I always will be to some degree, but that's again when you're matching tone with woods and pickups, you have to know what you're playing with. Well, this was my first shot with Warp Core, and I mean they are fantastic pickups. They're amazing. So I'm loving this build right here, and I built this guitar specifically around the specs that they gave me for those pickups. And it worked out great. So the tone woods worked out exactly for what they were building me. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to say you built a guitar around pickups, but that's exactly what I did in this case.
Well, but you kind of look at it, there are certain things that you want to highlight, right? Or there are certain things you can start with one thing and you go from there.
Oh yeah.
So, you can start with your wood species and go from there,
Mhm.
or it's just a different perspective and a different angle of where you begin.
That's it. I mean, again, we were talking about pickups. They gave me, I told them what I wanted out of them, and I knew about what the output would be based off of the stuff that I was telling them that I wanted them to build. And from there, I just matched the woods that I knew would work with the output from the pickups. And as soon as I got the pickups, I finished the build, put them in it, and lo and behold, it worked perfectly together. So yeah, it's just fun being able to do stuff like that as a builder. It's like, well, hey, you got a blank canvas. I mean, I'm looking at 8 pieces of that awesome maple sitting right here beside me in the man cave, and I know what they're going to be. Right now, they're just boards, nothing to them. But I know eventually they're going to be hanging on the wall or someone's wall, and be able to plug them in and play them. So yeah, it's just incredible. I get a lot of joy out of watching other people play my guitars. Again, I'm not the best guitarist in the world. I can hold my own decently with rhythm. I don't play lead. I'm not a lead guitarist. Um,
Well, not everybody can be, right? And not everybody wants to be.
well, that's exactly right. I mean, it takes so much dedication and time to really. I believe certain people have a God-given talent with instruments, but I believe anyone can play guitar. I believe anyone can get fairly good at guitar. It is one of those instruments that's like, yeah, some people are born with the ability to just take it to a whole new level, yet anyone can kind of feel that, below to medium range with playability with guitar. I think anyone can reach that. It's just some exceptional people, I believe firmly, are just like, oh my God, it just clicks, savant type click.
Yep.
And But everybody else can still fill in. Guitar is one of the instruments people can do that with, and I kind of fall into that kind of lower category with playing. But that's only because I don't take the time to dedicate to playing. I'm always in the shop building.
Yeah,
And
but your gift to guitars isn't in the playing, it's in the creating.
exactly. So I get my joy from watching awesome musicians play my instruments. That's where I could just sit back all night and watch them play my builds and not even play with them.
So
Although I do like to play.
what was your feeling the first time you sold a guitar and somebody was so excited to play it and they had to show it off to you?
Oh
What was
wow,
that like?
it's undescribable. Baby, go. Sorry, my daughter messing
Hey,
with me.
it's all good.
Yeah, the first time I watched was right here in the man cave. Actually, after my first build, I built for a guy named Trey Miller, and yeah, watching him play his signature model that I built for him was I can't even describe it. Like that's all the years of tinkering and then slowly getting into building, and then seeing it all kind of come together. And this is his guitar that I designed for him. It's his signature model guitar. There's only one of them in the world. I haven't even built one similar to it. It's its own thing. And watching him play it now, he's gigged with it for about the last 3 years. Played some ginormous shows with it in the country music industry, and I mean, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. It's I can't put it into words. It's just amazing. It's just a feeling that I mean, whatever your passion is in life, I mean, imagine being at the peak of it. That's it. That's the feeling. I can't put it any other way, you know? So,
And do you have that same or similar feeling as each one of your creations goes out to its new owner and
oh, absolutely.
they get to play it and they get the joy?
When I get that feedback from people that buy them from me, that it's like that feeling every time. So it's almost like a high that you keep chasing. And yeah, again, I can't describe the feeling. It's just amazing. Whenever you get that feedback from the people that are buying these from you, of course, you got to make a living. So obviously, it's great to sell them. But for me, the biggest payoff is again when I get that feedback from them. They plug it in for the first time, or they shoot me a video or FaceTime with me, and I get to watch them play it. And just that look on their face, it's like, holy cow, this is a custom guitar. You know, most folks have off the shelf guitars. I mean, I still have off the shelf guitars that I collect. They don't get played anymore. They're just collectors at this point. Because I love playing the ones that I built. I'd say
And
that
why
no
wouldn't
matter,
you?
yeah, if someone else built what's behind me, I'd still say the same thing. I'd be like, holy cow, this is amazing. And I'd just play that. So fortunately for me, I'm the one that built them. I get to just play them anytime I want. So, and then friends come over, and a good buddy of mine, Noah Bridges, he comes over all the time. In fact, he's dating my niece. So I see him way more than I'd like to sometimes. Just kidding. But no,
Oh, probably not.
he's on a lot of my videos actually on my Instagram account, and
Well, and what is your Instagram account?
it's
Geeks for Guitars?
at Geeks4Guitars. Yeah, it's
Okay.
I held that up so they could take a screenshot if they wanted to, but yep, whoever's watching this will have it. Yeah, at Geeks number 4 Guitars, and yeah, I've got a lot of my customs on there. Not all of them, but most of them are on there. And I do post videos. I'm kind of new to this whole social media thing. I don't have a Facebook. I literally just have an Instagram, and it's just to kind of get my guitars out there. In fact, I think I started it back in April of last year, my Instagram. So it's new to me. I just post stuff that I like to build, post videos of people playing them, and I do join in on some of the videos and play as well. Not very many.
You'd
But
rather have watch them enjoy your creations, I suppose, huh?
that's it. Yeah, it's again, Noah comes by all the time, so he's such a great guitarist. Honestly, he's just when he grabs them and plays, I'm like, man, you know, I'm gonna video you. I'm using this. This is awesome. So just keep playing, and I'll sit there and just cut little videos and post them. I'm like, all right, Noah Bridges is playing again, and it's really cool
Noah
to have.
Bridges is in the house.
That's it. I mean, I get to sit back and just watch this dude shred on stuff that I built. I mean, it was just, again, it started off like that, and then a body. It's amazing seeing it come from that to something you can
To that.
play. It's just it's amazing. So that's, to me, you get so much gratification out of that, and just validation watching folks play your build. So I don't know. To me, I hope this is the last fork in the road for me for what I want to do as a career for the rest of my life. I mean, they say if you enjoy your work, you never work a day in your life. Well,
Pretty much.
I think I'm finally to that point where I've done all these different things, and you take little bits of each thing, and it all came together to this. And I think I found a nice little niche in life that I might be able to just fit in. And I'm pretty excited about the possibilities that are coming up for me.
Okay. So with all of the forks that you've taken in the road of your life so far, if you had to go back and have a conversation with your 16-year-old emancipated self,
Oh wow.
what would you tell your 16-year-old version of you? What advice would you give
Uh,
you?
well, I always worked hard, so it wouldn't be anything like that. I guess it would be save more, um, invest in Amazon.
Cryptocurrency?
Yeah. Um, yeah, this whole little cryptocurrency thing, that's exactly right. Bitcoin, I think you could get for $1 or two back then. Yeah, about a couple of hundred of those. I don't know. I mean, that's all the kind of jokingly stuff, but realistically, I'd just tell myself to, try and work smarter, not quite as hard as I did. There's many things I could have done along the way, probably to get where I'm at now, maybe a little sooner. Back then, it was all just manual labor, which I firmly believe is just part of what I had to go through coming up. Um, but I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, what would anyone tell their 16-year-old self? Um, Obviously, jokingly, we can talk about investments and stuff like that. But honestly, I think just being smarter with my money from a young age would be a huge thing because it set me up better in the long term. But again, thinking back at that time, I mean, I barely made enough to get by. So it's like, what do you really tell that person that was already trying to do the best that they could at the time? I ended up going and getting my GED when I was 22. Put myself through college twice. I mean, I did everything I needed to do. Um, so really, that's a tough question to answer. To be honest, I don't know what I would tell myself. Um, just keep going after it, I guess. Keep chasing dreams. That's
I
pretty
think
much it.
that's great advice. Don't be afraid and follow your dreams, follow your passion.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've done that my whole life. You keep chasing that next step, and eventually you're going to get somewhere where it's like, right now for me in particular, I'm home. This is where I want to be. I'm building amazing guitars that, I mean, I would have known that when I was 16. That's what I was going to end up doing. It's just by happenstance. That's where I wound up, and I love it. I mean,
Well, I think about what you've told me this evening and the different paths in your life. I can see how each of those steps truly have culminated into what you're doing now. You had
oh,
the construction to
absolutely.
figure out how to deal with building things and using the wood and the tools, and then going to gunsmithing school, how to refine different materials to make a final product. Then going to Home Depot and you get the retail part and selling. And then even on the rigs, you have your logistics and your scheduling and making sure that everything comes together.
It's all full circle.
And now you do it all.
That's it. Yeah, it's building blocks in life. That's the way I look at things. I mean, I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, look, you don't know how much you're learning right now at this age. You're already building your future self right now.
Absolutely.
And they can't really grasp that, of course. I don't expect them to, but I still want to tell them that. So they always have that in the back of their mind. Wait, dad told me this, and eventually one day it's going to click and they're going to say, oh, wow, maybe he was right, hopefully.
Well, At one
Of course, they're
point,
my kids. They're stubborn. So
after their teen years, they'll probably say, and it might be when they're in their 30s or 40s, they open their mouth and dad comes out.
yeah, I firmly believe my oldest is going to be that. She is just like me.
Yeah.
God help the world.
Tony's already doing that. Geez, I opened my mouth and dad came out. I sound just like dad and it drives him crazy. I'm like, well, you didn't learn it far from home, love.
Yeah, the apple didn't fall very far, did it?
Nope. It wasn't a very tall tree for that apple to fall off of.
There you go.
So with all of your shoes that you've worn and miles that you've traveled, how do you define success?
Ooh, I'd have to say it's different for everyone, I guess. My definition of success, I guess, is just being able to chase your dreams and actually not just chase them. I guess the best way to put it would be actively pursue your dreams. And to me, that's success. If you're doing what you are passionate about, like right now, I mean, finances are rough right now. I mean, I went from making killer money offshore to, yes, I could have reached out to people in Houston office and probably gone and caught a job or two here and there, just randomly, once a month or whatever, or you deep dive into your passion and you just say, okay, this is it. I'm finally making that break from the oil industry and I'm chasing this exclusively, which is what I've done. And as hard as it is financially, sometimes it's, to me, I feel more success in this than I ever did with, and I had a very successful logistics company for many years. It was great. But I feel more success in life overall doing this. And I feel like if I keep paying my dues, so to speak, and just make it through these trying times, that the sky's the limit. I mean, with anybody that's got a half a brain in their head, they're going to realize, especially going from something like that to taking this giant leap, that if you're driven enough, you're going to make it no matter what. I mean, that's in my mind. If you're tenacious, and I know I am, you're going to make it. You just got to pursue it. Don't just chase it. Just actively pursue it. Do whatever it is that you're passionate about. Don't listen to the naysayers. They're just,
They're
they're
just
falling in.
noise.
And if you pursue it and you've got a decent mind about you, you're going to make it. And right now, I'm going through those tough times where it's like you only sell one guitar a month, or maybe if you're lucky, you get two orders at once, and they pay you half up front. You can order all the parts and maybe pay a few bills, and then the other half when you ship it. I'm in that weird spot right now where it's like you go from making 20 grand a month to making who knows, and I still feel more successful doing this though. I know it's kind of all around your question, but it's hard to put into words my definition of success, because it's all over the place, really. It's just doing what you want to do in life, and realizing we only got one life to live, so why not live it to your personal fullest? And to me, it happens to be guitars. For someone else, it could be knitting, it could be painting, it could be sculpt, whatever, working on cars, whatever it is, just pursue it. Don't just chase it, actively pursue it. And if you're in a job that you're happy with, quote unquote, right now, and you're making bills, great. Doesn't mean you have to stop pursuing your dream, because eventually you'll be able to make that switch over as well. And mine was kind of forced upon me. I mean, with the oil field, with COVID, it was just like, all right, after August, you're breaking ties anyway. Again, I could have reached out and maybe gone, worked a week or two here and there, spread abroad the entire Gulf of Mexico. But do you really want to do that if you're really trying to sever ties and pursue your dream? Or do you want to just go on and sever it and be done with it? And that's what I'm doing. So it's scary. I mean, there's success is a scary thing, I think, in some ways, because you're going to take that leap of faith, whether you want to do it or not. Inevitably, that's going to happen. Especially if you've got a family. I mean, I'm sole provider for my family. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, so it's like, well, you better have a strong woman with you if you're a man at that point. She better be strong, and she better back you 100%, because if not, you're stuck in the oil field. You know what I mean? For example.
Yep.
And when I told her what I was doing, she was like, well, we come from nothing. Because like my first date with my wife, I told her I had $13 in my account. I couldn't even take her out to eat. I was out in the open with her. I was like, hey, look, I could cook you dinner. I think I had like a $75 a month budget for food when I was in college in Denver. And I just bought groceries and I had like $13 for gas when I needed to top off again. I was like, I can take you to my place and I can cook you dinner. And I was like, I'm not going to try anything first date, but that's so my wife knew me when I had nothing. So yeah, she wasn't a money hungry woman because I didn't have any. That's what we did my first date. Took her back to the apartment and made
What'd you
some
make her?
spaghetti. That's all I had. But it was a great date. It was a Halloween night back in 2008. And
And then you just kept on going from there.
that's it. Yeah, it was great. But yeah, all that said, like I said, you got to have a strong woman or strong partner in general if you're going to take that leap. If you're not, on your own, if you're solo, it's much easier, I'm sure, because you could just say, "Oh, heck with everything" and do it. But in my case, not so much. You learn a certain lifestyle, and that's out the window. And now it's like, well, I don't even know what my lifestyle is anymore.
Well, one of the things Tony Robbins says is life happens for you, not to you. And if one of the things that you wanted to pursue was your passion in guitars, you were given that opportunity that you didn't have to try to decide, am I going to leave the oil rigs or not?
Yeah. Oh
Right?
yeah, it absolutely happened for me. That's right.
And I can thoroughly relate to, granted, it wasn't the big disparity in income, but I had a decent income at a small firm, and it was 2004, and I was completely miserable. And I was almost divorced because I didn't take it out on my partners. I took it out on my husband and Tony, who wasn't quite 2, and then his little brother was 6 months old. So Mac really didn't get the brunt of it, but my husband did. And Tony knew that mom had a short fuse.
Oh yeah.
So when we went out on our own, I went from a guaranteed income in an established firm to not knowing who was going to follow me and if I was going to have any files in my office. So
Yeah.
my income dropped not quite in half. So I know yours dropped significantly more than in half.
Oh yeah.
But like you, I've been the sole breadwinner, and I had 2 babies at home, one who had just gone through open heart surgery. So failure was not an option.
Not even close.
And you do what you got to do. And when you have the determination, you have the drive, you have the passion and the gift, the universe will provide. And it sounds like you have more people that are coming and being interested in your guitars and wanting custom made Geeks4Guitars guitars.
That's what's happening right now, and I'm hoping that it just keeps going and going and going.
Hope not. It will.
Yeah, I mean, I do my due diligence as well. I reach out to people. I've got a few of my guitars in some really well established players' hands right now, all over the country. I just sent them off. Like right now, a guy named Jake Morelli's got one of my very first thin line teardrop that I built. And I mean, he's played with some amazing people: Bruno Mars and Ed Sheeran, the Village People, the Roots. He's played with just killer bands and killer artists in general. And yeah, he's got one of my custom builds right now. I'm wondering if I'm going to get it back, to be honest. But no, all kidding aside, he's holding on to it for about another month. He's moving he has a recording studio in Philadelphia, and he's moving to a new recording studio and wants to cut an album with it. He's playing it on some tracks. So I was like, yeah, just hold on to it. I know it's in good hands and I'll get it back at some point.
That's when you say, hold on to it, but make sure you make everybody aware that it's one of my custom guitars.
Oh, he will absolutely do that. And I know he's going to order a custom one from me. Of course, he has virtually no incentive to do that currently because he's holding one of my customs. So I know as soon as he has to, forfeit that, he's going
Well,
to want
maybe
a
he'll
custom.
decide that he wants to keep it and he'll buy it.
Well, that's a touchy subject on that one. That's my prototype. I'm keeping
Oh,
all my prototypes. I might send them out and let people play them. That's fine.
but those
they're
are
coming
yours.
back home.
They come home.
That's it. In the neck pocket, underneath the neck where it meets the body, I signed prototype number 1 and put my date and my signature on it.
And what's the name of that guitar?
I haven't named that one yet, actually. I know. Well, I haven't had it long enough. That one in particular has been gone more than it's been home from day one.
I guess I just figured it would have gotten a name when it was born.
No,
Before it
not
went
that
out
one.
the door.
I typically have to play them for a while, and
then the name comes to you.
in particular, it's just been out all over the country. It's been in Nashville. 3 different people played it in Nashville for a while. As soon as I got it built, one of my buddies down here, Eric Woolard, has a recording studio here in Jackson. He borrowed it for a while and played and cut a really cool album, or not album, but song track with it. And as soon as I got it back there, it went to Nashville. When it came back from Nashville, it went up to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So it's like, one of these days I'll get it back and I'll name it. But I haven't had as much time on it as any of these other people. So, what little bit of time it's been here, it's like, one day it'll get a name. Right now, it's just the Brotherhood of the Traveling Guitars, I guess. It's just going all over. It's going to have one heck of a story to tell, though. That
I was
guitar.
going to say, by the time you get it back, it's going to be a teenager.
Well, I mean, it's been played by some really amazing artists. So I mean, that guitar really will have some awesome stories to tell. It's really well traveled already, and it's going to continue to be a well traveled guitar.
So let me ask you this: do you keep a log of its travels?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, everywhere it goes, I know where it's been, and I don't have to jot it down. I mean, I've got it in my mind, but yeah, absolutely, I know everywhere it's been. I should write that down though. That's a really good thing to do. Because yeah, I'm getting old. You know how that goes. I might be.
Oh, you're a
misremembering
baby
one day. Well, I'm pushing 40. I'm this close.
Still a baby. But it's just kind of one of those where it's no different than jotting down crazy things that our kids say.
Oh yeah.
I have a journal that if the boys said something really kind of wacky when they were little, I would just open up my notebook and date it and jot it down. And every once in a while, go back through it because I was sure I would never forget that expression. And I go back and I start reading these and I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that.
Yep. But you wrote it down. That's
But
a good thought. I will do that. With this one in particular, it's been traveled so much. Yeah, I will absolutely do that. Write down who had it and where.
Well, and then those are great stories for your girls too. And
Oh,
especially when you keep the prototypes, you got the little history or it has its own journal to go along with it. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I mean, I know who all's played it, but they wouldn't know if anything happened to me. That's a really good idea.
They wouldn't have a clue.
See, that's what this whole meeting was about, right?
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll absolutely do that. It's a good idea.
So how do you motivate yourself? I know you have the wood and stuff talks to you for the next guitar that you're going to build, and you get up every morning to create. How do you motivate yourself?
Really, again, that's all about just trying to succeed with this business, succeed in life in general. I mean, I'm, again, sole provider. So for me, motivation comes easy because the kids have to eat. We have to have a roof over our heads. So it's
really good motivator, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're either the type of person that's like, I'm not going to do anything, heck with it, or you understand really quickly you've got a wife, 2 kids, and a house, and everything else. You just got to make it. So my motivation right now is exactly that, just trying to survive, pay bills, grow this company into something I can be proud of on a larger scale, and see where it goes. That's where I'm at. I mean, my motivation's real easy at this point. So,
And it sounds like you've had some challenging times,
oh, of
starting,
course.
and we all have. What is one difficult experience that actually turned out to be a true blessing in your life?
Mm, I, I would have to say making the jump initially from retail to going offshore because so many doors were opened at that time. Um, and it was rough. That was really rough. I mean, you think about it, you're starting with had a young wife and a really young daughter, and now you're going from being home every night, even though you're working crazy hours in retail, but at least you were home. Now you're going to, at that point, I worked for a company when I first started in the oil industry, and you're gone 2 weeks a month. Um, I was again chasing that bigger dream in life, trying to get to wherever. At the time, I didn't know. I just knew it was a step in the right direction to get where I wanted to be. So I think that actually was probably the first real major jump that I was. You don't know where you're going to fall, right? You're just making a leap. And what it did though is a little over a year, I was roustabout and roughneck, and then very quickly, I mean, in the oil industry, that's really quick going from roustabout to roughneck in 3 months, and then roughnecking and starting my logistics company all within about a year and 2 months. Um, so it all kind of just opened up these doors. I mean, you go from really good money to start out offshore, it's fairly decent money, and then you go to just crazy money when you own your own company doing it, and it's the doors in which were open during that process are what allowed me to be able to do what I'm doing now. I bought a lot of my equipment. I bought a lot of lumber. I bought a lot of. I mean, it's just crazy how it all works out, like we were talking about earlier. And I think that was probably that roughest transition was getting used to being away from home. And then on the flip side of that coin, when you've been out long enough, it's like, well, now I'm tired of being away from home. You're always tired of it, but at some point you find that point where you're like, all right,
Had
no
enough.
more. Yeah,
I'm
no more.
done.
And again, that's part of severing those ties. It's like, well, do you really want to go back out there and be away from home again, or do you just want to keep pursuing what you really want to do? And I'm kind of, it's strange. That was that first part of that to answer your question, and I'm kind of back in it again now. If you think about
Mhm.
it, making that big leap. I mean, that's scary. That's a big part of my life where it's like I'm back to that same spot. Like when I first went offshore, I'm doing that again now with guitars. It's kind of a catch 22, I guess, to answer your question. I'm in that spot that I was in there now. I'm right back. I came
But
full circle, I
and
guess.
it's a leap of faith, but look at the where you elevated yourself to when you took that first leap,
Oh yeah, yeah. I
right?
kept climbing really quickly. Absolutely.
And now you elevated again to from, you were your own boss, making good money, but dependent on somebody else yet,
Oh yeah. Depending on
to
oil prices, that's crazy.
depending on other countries,
Yeah.
um, to now taking the leap, you're still your own boss, but now you're at the level where you're pursuing your passion and your dream.
That's it. And I just got to get back up to where I was financially, or hopefully way exceed that. But yeah, I'm kind of at the building blocks of this right now. I'm right there at the base, getting some really good recognition, starting to get more custom orders in. So I mean, I understand it's not going to be an overnight process, which is why I'm growing it the way I'm growing it, sending out guitars to people that I just want them to play them and give me cool reviews and good feedback. And eventually, it's just you build that clientele from that kind of a personable level and just sending out guitars to try out. And they come back to you whenever they come back to you. It's that kind of stuff. I believe firmly that it's like the old school ways of going in and shaking someone's hand and getting a job interview in person
Mhm.
versus the having to fill out online type thing. And I kind of want to take that same approach with guitar building. I want to send out some guitars and let people try them. I think we've lost a lot of things with technology over the years. When I was coming up as a kid, you got a job by shaking someone's hand, and there were paper applications if you even had to fill one out. 9 times out of 10, you go in doing what I did. Construction is like, all right, yeah, you're hired. Let's go. Grab a hammer. What, you got your tool belt with you? Let's start today. That kind of stuff. And I think we kind of miss out on a lot of that just personal aspect in life with the whole digital age that we're in now. So I want to kind of bring some of that in if I can, with my custom guitars. I just want to send them out to certain people, let them try them out. And no strings attached. If you order one, great. If you don't, hey, you got to play a cool custom, send it back to me. I'll send it out to someone else down the road. And I think I'm going to get a little further. It may be a little slower, but I'll get a little further in life doing that, I believe, than just trying to punch out, numbers, X amount of guitars per month right now when nobody really knows who I am. Being a new builder on the block, so yeah, you want to build that foundation. I've slowly been building that foundation, I believe, for the last good little while now. And I think that eventually that's going to become a really big structure. Start with a nice foundation, you can build from. That's what I'm trying to do. And part of me wishes financially it was a little quicker, but I'm not going to rush it. It is what it is. We'll make it through the struggles. I mean, everybody struggles at some point. I'm just back to struggling again. And
Slow and steady wins the race, though.
That's what they say. So yeah, I mean, when you come from nothing like I do, it's okay going back there and starting over. At least it's this time I'm starting over with something that I'm really passionate about. So I feel like, again, I'm paying my dues all over again, but it's for the greater good in this case.
But you're starting over from a different plane.
Oh yeah, I mean, mentally, everything, it's completely different this time. This is for me, this is an end all be all. This is where I want to be. This is not just okay, I'm still chasing God knows what, but inevitably I'm gonna find that God knows what. Well, this is that. I finally found it, and I'm actively engaged in it full time. So it's no longer having to wonder what it is that I'm chasing mentally, because everybody, I'm sure, has their own dreams that they chase, and you don't really know what they are. At least I didn't until this came along years ago, and it's like, all right, well, might be able to do something with this. And then you build your first one for someone as a signature model. And of course, like we were talking about, everything kind of comes together. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, I can actually do this as a business. And then here we are. So,
and it's, wow, I am doing this as a business.
That's exactly right. It's like, all right, I guess this is happening. So you just chase it. And yeah, I'm excited. It's nerve wracking. It's exciting. It's a mixed bag of emotions. It's hard to explain, but it's overall it's extremely good. It's no matter what the emotions are, here, today, tomorrow. Overall, it's just a fantastic feeling. So I'm excited. I don't know what's going to happen, how big it's going to get, but I'm just happy to put smiles on people's faces with custom guitars. Honestly, that's at the end of the day all I really want. To pay bills, of course, but
well, that's
to see the smiles.
That's kind of the byproduct.
Yeah, you hope it is.
Well, I believe that when you do something because you're passionate about it and it's what you want to do rather than doing it for the money, then it's going to happen. Oh, but if you're chasing the dollar, you're always going to be chasing the dollar and you're not going to be feeling fulfilled.
Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe that the two go hand in hand. Obviously, like you say, if you're passionate about it enough, and you've got that niche in a market. I mean, that's obviously nowadays you have to find a niche. I can't compete with Fender. I can't compete with Gibson.
But you're not them.
That's exactly right. I'm doing my own thing, and I'm creative enough to come up with a design that hasn't been done. And you won't see another teardrop guitar up. It's mine. And the cool thing is, if you find that niche and you're passionate enough about it, and I hate to say this, but smart enough to actively pursue it and push it the right way, don't get too big for your britches too quick. In other words, I think it's all going to work out just fine. If I pushed it too fast right now, which I could do, then all I'm doing is set myself up for failure, because I couldn't produce the amount that I would be getting orders for at that point with doing them all by hand. So it's a really delicate balance right now with trying to get enough orders in to just maintain bills versus overdoing it and not being able to produce quick enough to keep customers happy. So right now I'm saving money to get larger equipment that would just make my production levels go up drastically, while maintaining the same standards. So that's what I'm doing now, is saving up for more equipment that I need to ramp production up in the correct way. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep it as low as I can right now to be able to produce them all by hand and save for equipment that I need and continue going. I mean, it's all just baby steps.
Hey, little bit at a time, and all of a sudden you look back and it's been huge leaps.
That's it. Well, I bought a lot of equipment. The next few pieces are about 38,000 each, so I need to save some serious pennies. When I was offshore, I would have been like, all right, that's 38
Let's
grand.
just sign.
We'll
Let's
make a couple of months offshore and we're good. Now it's like, oh wow, $38,000. That's choose money again. So yeah, I need a couple of decent sized pieces of equipment, but that's just going to make everything work so much more efficiently. So it's well worth the money. I just got to do it.
So do you have a goal in mind of how many guitars you want to sell per year?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm huge into the custom side of it. If I ramped it up really big, I would obviously have to have a base model for selling through other vendors. And I've been going over that with a potential partner of mine, doing a base model, kind of a middle tier. Starting with the Teardrop, I have many other awesome models in my head that I'm doing prototypes of now that have never been done before either. So I know inevitably I'm going to ramp production up. I just don't know to what extent yet. Again, a lot of that's factored in with the equipment that I need. A huge facility. If I'm really going to ramp production up, I'd like to be around 100 guitars a month at some point, 150, whatever I can comfortably do. That said, that would be a separate department for the base models if I choose to go that route. Part of me wants to do nothing but customs my whole life. But that's going to be a pretty limited number of people that want to spend $5,000 and up on a guitar. There's tons of people that'll do it, but you're limiting your clientele versus having a base model that starts around the $2,000 mark for a really nice custom, and then goes up from there. So, I mean, my end goal is to just build guitars wherever that falls. I mean, I've got multiple little business plans put together for each route that I might end up wanting to take. If I want to blow it up huge, I've got a plan in place for that. However, I would need the facility, much more equipment, and much more personnel to make it happen. But there is a game plan in place. I've been drawing up business plans for each route that I want to take. And I don't know, we'll see where we fall with my business partner that we haven't signed paperwork yet, but it's gonna happen. We're actively in talks, and we want to see. I know he's from a huge corporate mindset, and he's going to want to just ramp production up massively and be the next Fender or be the next Gibson. And we can make that happen if we have the right pieces in place. But the other part of me is like, well, do you want to just do that or do just crazy cool custom guitars, more of a one-off, which I think we can have our cake and eat it too if we do it right. I'll still have a custom department and a more bass department. So that's kind of, I'm in talks right now, and it's kind of, we're in limbo with it. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it all comes together, though.
It'll be fun.
It is. It's really fun thinking about all the possibilities. I mean, even if I do nothing but just build 3 or 4 custom guitars a month, it's going to be fantastic either way. So I mean, it's a win either way in my book.
Awesome. So I appreciate your time, and this has really been fascinating. So I got one final question for you.
Shoot.
If you could just snap your fingers and didn't have to do any work to make it happen, what's one thing that you would change about today's society?
Oh wow. Um, Today's society in general. Honestly, I think that with everything that's gone down over the last couple of years, I believe overall people are trying to be just better people. At least I feel that way. I mean, you can listen to the news media all you want, but if you're just face to face with people, I mean, generally, I think people are just wanting to be better overall. I mean, love thy neighbor, right? That sort of mindset. I get that everywhere I go. It's like, I'm from the South, and we're pretty notorious for being, pretty tight knit people. I mean, we don't meet a stranger; we say hey to everybody, and which was a big culture shock going up to the northern states. I say hey to people, and they're like, "Oh, what do you want?" But to me, it's just I say hey to everybody. Well, you kind of get a lot of that these days. So I mean, I try and steer clear of that part of social media or news in general, other than weather. Basically, I try and steer clear of most of it. I hit the high points and kind of see where we're at as a country overall. I kind of want to hit the high points, but other than that, I just kind of stay away. I think generally speaking, people just want to be good people now. I mean, more than ever, they just want to come together and just be people. I mean, no matter who you are, what your ethnicity is, whatever your race, religion, doesn't. People are just people. People just get along better. Just come together. We're people.
Be nice
So
and love one another, right?
yeah,
Love
well, I
love
mean,
your neighbor. Treat
yeah, I
your
mean,
neighbor as yourself.
you've always got a bad apple in the bunch, right? So, don't focus on the bad apples. Just focus on the fact that people are people. You're going to have the bad apples. You're going to have the awesome people. You're going to have the in between people. Just people. Just be people.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, we'll see if it ever happens. But I try and do that. I mean, I like people. I love people. I get along with just about anyone I meet. So it's I feel like if most people were that way mentally, then I mean, yeah, sure, I have rough days, and sometimes people make me mad. They're driving, and it's like some old grandpa I'm driving behind, whatever the fact may be. But I mean, it's no different than anyone else. We're all just people. But generally speaking, again, I think if people as a society would just put their differences apart, quit focusing on the negativity, and just again understand we have one life to live. So all this bickering you're doing now, you're wasting time.
Yeah.
Pursue your passion. Be the best you can be, and let the other stuff kind of go. I hate to say that, and I'd probably catch flack for it from certain groups or people or whatever. But if you hold a grudge, you're just holding a grudge. Live life, move on. Whatever the grudge may be, whatever that negativity is in your life, if there's any way to let it go, and move forward. It's the only way you're
Well,
going to move forward in life. Unless you want to stay stagnant, great, that's you. Be you. Again, be you. Whatever you want to do. You want to stay stagnant, think about the past all the time, go for it. Be you. I choose to try and think forward, think positive, and that's me. I just want everybody to be them and try and be happy together. If we can all do that, life is good.
life is so much better when you ditch the negativity. And I don't
It's
remember.
not easy to do sometimes, right? I mean,
No.
even I struggle with it all the time. I mean, everybody does, but I mean, no one's perfect, but at least try.
Well, and who was it that said something along the lines of, and I know the quote's going to be wrong, but hating somebody and wanting them to die is like you might as well drink the poison yourself because it's killing you more than it is them. And that's not the quote, but it's along those lines that the more you
I
want to
get where
hurt
you're coming
somebody
from, though.
else, you're drinking the poison.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're letting something eat you up that honestly, the person you're thinking about more than likely is not stressing over the fact of what you're thinking about. I mean,
They're
you're
not
you're the
thinking
one
about you.
tearing yourself up. Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, we're right back to where we were. Just be you, be the best you, and move forward.
Well, Jason, I absolutely love how you are following your passion, and hearing about your journey and the paths that you've taken has truly been inspiring.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And if you want to hear more stories about other people who are living their passion and following their dreams, check out Woman Warrior Lawyers You and Your Life podcast. So James, I don't know where that came from.
I don't go by
Jason.
that anymore.
No, I understand you go by Jason or Jay.
Jay.
So I've been calling you the wrong thing all along. I've been calling you
No,
your legal name, but not
I
your
answer
name.
to both. When I'm in trouble, it's Jay at home, so I just stick with that because I always assume I'm always in trouble.
I highly doubt that. Although maybe now that you're home all the time, maybe you are. I don't know. But I don't think it would be in trouble with your daughters because they have eyes for daddy.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. No, it's been a great interview. I really appreciate it. This is really cool. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And I would love to do a second round as your business takes off and we kind of do a check-in and see where you're at.
Sure. I'm all about it. That'd be fine.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much.